Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Hi.
Well, welcome everybody to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. I am in the awesome borough of the Kenai Peninsula, and it is trying to be sunny, a little drizzly, but we don't mind it. Our grass needed a little bit of greenness when it was sunny and 70 for 2 months there in the summer. So folks have caught their fish, their bellies are full, and they're headed back to Wasilla and Anchorage over the last couple of weeks. And I hope folks enjoyed being on the Kenai Peninsula this summer. We're happy to have you, and hopefully we'll have another awesome fishing summer next year. For those of you listening, we really appreciate you listening, watching, and reading Must Read Alaska. If you enjoy our app, the Must Read Alaska app, make sure to give us a good review. You can get the app if you go to the iTunes store, the Android store on any smartphone. Download the app for free. It's pretty awesome. News delivered right to the app without all the nonsense of trying to go through Safari or Chrome or 7 different things to get to it. It's free. And we put a lot of time, money, resources into it. We hope you enjoy it. And if you listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and the list goes on, and you enjoy it, also leave us a review. Those little reviews help us get and reach more and more people organically every day, which we are always super excited about. Well, we have a very special guest today, Municipal Manager Amy Demboski of the Municipality of Anchorage. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show, Amy.
Hey, Jonathan, it's good to see you. I'm so glad to be here with you. I think this is our first podcast together.
This is pretty awesome. You are a living legend. The folks that follow Must Read Alaska, they adore you. They think you're like basically a superhero to them. So you're in friendly territory here. I'm very excited you're on the show. For folks that maybe, been living under a rock, as I like to say, or in a closet, or, just had their heads poked in the sand, tell us a little bit about who you are and what a municipal manager does.
Oh, good. That's a good one. So I will say, I grew up, I was a military kid. My dad was in the military, and I graduated from Chugach High School. So I am a Chugach Billy, I say, heart through and through. No, I grew up in Chugach Eagle River from about 8th grade on. I went to UAA. I was in the military for a time, and then I came back, and my husband and I married, and we have 2 kids. And I spent a majority of my professional career, I would say the first 17 years or so, in the medical field, dental specifically, and I built and managed corporations and dental corp. And then there was a time where I really started paying attention to Alaska politics. I didn't really know any politicians. I had never met one, but I started watching my tax bill, and I started watching Anchorage Assembly meetings. And then I started getting involved with my community council. And before you knew it, I spent almost 6 years on the Anchorage Assembly representing Chugach Eagle River. And from there, I became the Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Dunleavy. And I served with him in the governor's office for the first session that he was elected. And then I moved over to Commerce, where I ended up becoming the Deputy Commissioner of Commerce. And that's where we met, actually, was when I was in the governor's office. So it was kind of a whirlwind of about 10 years of getting involved, starting with, boards and commissions and community council, and then the assembly. And then I ended up, working for the state. Well, what I realized when Mayor Bronson was running for office, and right after he won, is, he was coming into a very volatile political situation where the legislative body was very much opposed to what the executive branch that had just been elected was trying to forward. So I knew I had a good relationship with many of the assembly members that were on there, and I knew municipal government pretty well. So when he asked me to be his municipal manager, I accepted that challenge, and I came in. And really, what the municipal manager is responsible for, the city of Anchorage is a first-class city, which means we have policing powers and taxing powers and all those things. And in our charter, it says the municipal manager is responsible to the mayor for the administration of government. So effectively, administering all municipal government here, operations. So everything from the police department to the fire department, to, public works and transit, all of those departments. We have about 26 departments here at the municipality. Some of them, a couple of them report directly to the mayor, but the majority of municipal operations are things that I'm responsible for. You can only do it because you have great employees that help you in that mission. And we have incredible directors that run their departments. And I just to get to come aside them and give them support and give direction where needed. And, we run a city.
Nice. Well, oftentimes folks don't get the opportunity to really have their dream job. I remember hearing you say that being the municipal manager was kind of a dream job that you had. Describe for us what that felt like, when Mayor Bronson calls you up and asks you to consider this job. Was it like the stars are aligning moment, or was this, something that was totally out of left field that you didn't even see coming?
No, I would say I kind of saw it coming during his campaign. I advised him on a lot of different municipal issues, from everything from the port to tax policy, municipal law, codes, all the different land use codes. There's so many different facets of it. And so I advised him often on policy and what the municipal code requires, what options he would have if he was faced with certain situations. So, he had told me at one point that if he won, he's like, I'm going to be coming back and asking you this question. So I wasn't surprised that he did. It's a big endeavor. And, I've not hidden from anyone. My goal has always been, when I got into municipal government as an assembly member, I always planned on staying in the private sector. I never really planned on becoming an administrator. And I got the chance to work with Mayor Sullivan's municipal manager, George Vacalis. And I just remembered watching him work and seeing that he was a problem solver. He was somebody who, you go to him as an assembly member and you have XYZ road project issues or a land use project issue, and he brought together stakeholders and he just solved problems. And to me, I remember having that aha moment working with him while I was on the assembly. I was about 2 years into the assembly, and I remember working with him and thinking, that's the job I want. I want his job. I never actually thought it would be in the municipality of Anchorage. I thought, well, you got to have a conservative mayor that would want a conservative municipal manager. And, everybody debates whether Anchorage is purple, is Anchorage blue, is it really red? And we just don't get turnout. So those debates ever happened. And I always kind of laughed because I thought, who's going to take a chance on this girl from Chugiak, But Mayor Bronson, he's like, nobody knows the city better than you do. He's like, I know you're good at operations. It's what you've done in your professional career. He's like, I want the best and I want you. So it was very humbling. It was very humbling. And I was very thankful that he gave me the opportunity to step in and be part of his team.
That's awesome. So oftentimes I think when conservatives, get involved in government, whether it's small town or big time government, they often, are very critical of what's happening in government. What to you were some actual positive surprises that you've seen since you've been the municipal manager for the municipality of Anchorage?
Well, I would start with saying, I had a benefit that others it did not have, especially new administrations when they step in. As I stepped in and sat down on day one, I could start working because I was a very active assembly member. I think to this date, I'm probably the only person who's actually spent a day working at the landfill because I'm very much let me see how to do it. Show me so I can understand. And so I've had the opportunity for years, to work with a lot of municipal employees. So I really wasn't surprised as to the level and caliber of services that are being provided, because we really have some great, exceptional people that, deliver these services every day. So that didn't surprise me. But what did surprise me was when I sat down and started working, I was surprised how much I actually knew and had learned from my time on the assembly. Not every assembly member is as engaged. You have some that will be really dig into topics and others just show up and vote. And everybody's different, not right or wrong, just different. And for me, I was a very hands-on. I remember one department I walked into when I was on the assembly for probably the first 2 weeks. As I walked in, I was surrounded by like 5 supervisors because they're like, what are you doing here? We never see assembly members. I think those days have changed. And I think we have a lot more people that have been engaged. But to me, I'm a very hands-on person. So I was really surprised with how much I actually knew and remembered. And, but there's another whole level of surprise. And when I start to see how this, frankly, assembly behaves, it was really shocking to me to see just the level of political vitriol. And no matter how many good ideas Mayor Bronson has, just because it's coming from Mayor Bronson, they're going to receive a level of resistance. And that's just a factual reality. And so that has actually really surprised me.
So what are some things that you hope to accomplish while you're there as the municipal manager? Is there any sort of big aha things that you can share with us that the administration hopes to accomplish while you're there?
Sure. I would say none of this is going to surprise you, more than likely, because Mayor Bronson ran on certain things and he intends to deliver. So, the Port of Anchorage has been something that everybody across the state has heard this mayor talk about, this administration talk about. And so I really do believe you're going to see a really effective port project moving forward. And granted, it's a multi-year project. We know that. But I think you're going to see an effective push forward to get it on a path to completion. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's the mayor's number one priority. I drive around Anchorage many, many hours in a week. And one thing I'll say is if you drive around Anchorage right now and you look, you do not see the level of tents and campers and people defecating on the sidewalks that I remember seeing when Ethan Berkowitz was mayor. I remember driving around 3rd Avenue when Ethan was mayor, and it almost looked like, ground zero. There's 50 tents on the sidewalk, and you just don't see that anymore. And you won't see that covered in the media either. You're not going to see them run a story saying, hey, look at the improvement. They're going to whine and complain about, a bear or two that go, wandering through a campground, but they're not going to report on the 15 bears that wandered through Government Hill or that went in your neighbor's yard in South Anchorage. So they do pick and choose their stories, and you have to just have to take it with a grain of salt. I always say, if you're paying attention to the media, you're taking your eyes off your mission. So for me, I honestly don't care what the media says. The more the more I know I'm on target. So bring it.
Yeah. You seem to be, for folks that have been paying attention, you're like Teflon. Nothing sticks to you in terms of what the media is going to throw, sling or bad press at you or any of your staff. What do you say to folks as, some encouragement for, maybe folks that are considering to, run for school board or run for the assembly or get involved in a community council? Do you have any advice to them as you have, I think at one point the Anchorage Daily News editorial board called for you to be fired. How do you bounce back so quickly? It seems like it doesn't even faze you.
It doesn't, because I don't read it. It's nonsense. And so when, I had to laugh because I do have friends, contrary to what they will tell you, I have friends on sides of the aisle. And I remember over a weekend when that article or when that editorial came out, I remember getting a text from a couple of people on the left saying, hey, are you okay? And I'm thinking, it's a great Saturday. Why wouldn't I be? Editorial. And I'm like, dude, I haven't even read it. Like, I don't care. Because again, the people that read the ADN and the people that are writing that propaganda, the reality is no matter what good things you do, they are not going to report it. They're only going to talk about the negative because they have a political agenda. So, I applaud them for trying, but it's just not going to bother me. But, I think this job is not for everyone. And whether it is working as a director, working on the school board or the city manager or the mayor or on the assembly, the reality is if you're going to get into this game, you can make a difference. One person can make a difference. You just have to get the bumps along the way. But if you keep your eye on the ball and you keep just very focused on your mission, I think you can make a major difference. Take Jamie Allard, for example. Jamie stepped up. She ran for state house first, and then she ran for assembly. But she is so tenacious, and she just keeps at it and keeps at it. And I would argue the reason you see Mayor Bronson in office today is because of the groundwork that Jamie Allard led during the COVID shutdowns. She raised people's awareness. She was telling people what the assembly was doing. She turned people out to vote. And not only to vote, she turned people out at assembly meetings, even though, they locked them out. But people were paying attention. And when people started paying attention, they didn't like what they saw. And that is what led to Mayor Bronson being elected, because they realized the direction this assembly and this, Berkowitz administration are going is not good for the municipality of Anchorage. It's not good for the taxpayers. It's not good for the residents. And they wanted a change. And so I do think one voice can make a difference. And I've seen it in my own career. Look, I literally knew no one in politics in 2010. In 2010, look how short time that was. I knew no one, and I stepped up to serve on a board and commission for the state, and I served on the Judicial Conduct Commission. Governor Parnell announced me. I put my application in just like everybody, and I got a call from the governor's office and said, hey, we want to interview for this board and commission. I interviewed, didn't know anything really about politics. I've watched politics. I've always been a super voter, but I hadn't been running in any political circles. And here you have, 3 years later, I'm effectively on the Anchorage Assembly. And then 5 years after that, I'm deputy chief of staff to the governor. And now here I sit as a municipal manager. So my point is, anybody can be involved as much as they want to be involved if they just roll up their sleeves and get to work.
I love it. So let's talk about a couple practical things. Let's say you're going to have folks in Anchorage listening to this, and they're going to be like, I got a pothole, or my property taxes are too high. What are some ways in which not only disgruntled Anchorage folks, but, can make their voices heard? I know you guys have a website. Is there places they can call in? Can they stop into City Hall to talk to people? What are avenues that the everyday citizen can use to just engage with stuff that their tax dollars are going towards?
Well, I would say there's multiple avenues. Number one, you can always stop by the mayor's office. If you come down to City Hall, it's on the 8th floor. The mayor's office is on one side of the floor, and the manager's office is on the other side of the floor. And if you come into any of our offices, we can help you. People can also go to muni.org, and if they have issues, you can report potholes there. You can, reach out to departments if you have specific issues regarding to plowing or any of those things. And I think we have a pretty user-friendly website. The other thing, and I might have to take a screenshot and give it to you later, but I'll hold it up so people kind of can see it. But you can see all these phone numbers we have for reporting potholes. We have everything to
Yes.
graffiti busters. So I'll take a screenshot of that so you can have it. But on the back of it, there's all these. That's just my business card, because those are the most frequent numbers people call. But that's why I say people can be very involved. But usually when you're starting to see substantial things work through the assembly, oftentimes you'll see them work through community councils. So I can't underline enough how valuable it could be to get involved with your community council, because they really are probably the first line of knowing what is going on at the municipality. And if you want to learn where your community council is, you can go to Federation of Community Councils. Just Google that, Anchorage Federation of Community Councils, and it'll pop up. It'll populate to their website. And every community council in Anchorage and Eagle River and Girdwood is listed there. And then you can get connected with your community council that way.
Nice. Well, Amy, I really appreciate you joining us on the Must Read Alaska show today. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with before we head off here?
Yeah, I would just say, I think sometimes people get disheartened when they see negative story after negative story. And what I will tell you is Mayor Bronson and his executive team are very focused on accomplishing the mission and the reasons why the voters elected him. We're focused on making sure that the streets get plowed, that cops respond when there's, calls for service, that if you have a medical emergency, the fire department shows up. We're cleaning town, and we're actively and aggressively trying to clean up, frankly, the budget mess that this administration was left. And we are making headway. So I think sometimes people see the stories that are run by some of the more progressive outlets, and they think, oh, they're just, they're suffering. We're not. We're very focused on what we're doing. We're going to accomplish the mission. And, it is a very exciting time, actually, to be in an administration like this, because every day we're seeing wins internally, and we're seeing progress. So I would just say, if you hear otherwise, just take the source with a grain of salt and recognize that, more than likely there's a political spin that's being applied to it. And I just want to reiterate, there is, one of the conversations that has happened about Centennial Campground, there is no crisis over there. It is not a humanitarian crisis. I really want to emphasize the fact that the majority of people that are at that campground came from other illegal camping options in Anchorage, and they didn't have toilets. They didn't have showers. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have 24-hour security, and they didn't have free Wi-Fi. So when people say that we've made their condition so much worse, frankly, they're lying to you. It's not true. A lot of these people, and I'm in that campground every single day, a lot of these people that are over there are thanking us for the opportunity to have some sort of resource. And case managers from the Salvation Army and other nonprofit partners have been over there to provide assistance and help to people who want it. But I will tell you, the mayor is very focused on improving the lives of all Anchorage residents, whether they're politically aligned with him or not. It doesn't matter to him. That never enters his calculus. He just wants to make the city a better place. He wants to bring business back, and he wants to see us be a vibrant economic hub again. And I think it's possible. It is possible. So just keep up the hope and faith. And I would just say, we appreciate people, showing up to assembly meetings, writing in when you have your opinions to assembly members and to the administration. Every single one of those emails that come into the administration are read. And so we just want to say thank you for that. And we truly appreciate the support.
Awesome. Well, you're doing an awesome job, Amy. Keep up the good work. And we wish you nothing but success and Godspeed as you, go up against what seems like sometimes we are outnumbered. But I think a lot of folks are rooting for the conservative movement. They just have jobs during the day, and they got families and soccer games and all those kinds of things, and sometimes don't have time to show up to stuff, but it doesn't mean they don't support the work that's going on. So keep up the good work. And for those of you listening in, make sure to give us a nice review if you like. Listen to the Mustard Alaska show on iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, or any of their channels. And also make sure to tune into us tomorrow. I'm going to be having pastor of Anchorage Baptist Temple on the Mustard Alaska show. It's going to be pretty awesome. Pastor Ron is going to be on with me, and we're going to be talking all things church, politics, and Jesus. So, you get those three things in the mix. It seems like it's going to be a fun time. So until next time, thank you so much again for tuning in. And Amy, thank you so much for being a guest today. Until next time from somewhere in Alaska, I'm John Quick signing off. Thank you so much.